Hello and welcome to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Chris, and today I am broadcasting from Colorado. Again, I am on my second week of my hiking vacation, so I'm bringing you an abbreviated but still very impactful discussion about Google Ads. So I have the third part in my series now about getting started in Google Ads, and we have gone through the first steps, some of the basics about how to start a Google Ads campaign. I've gone through next steps on how to improve, how to analyze, optimize your Google Ads account. And today I'm going to finish up the whole discussion with the advanced steps discussion. So this is where I continue on with the discussion primarily focused on conversions, focusing on what to do with conversions, how do conversions factor into your decision making, where can you make mistakes, where can you have success with this very important metric. So we're going to go through that. I'm going to discuss, again, 10 points about what I think about Google Ads and how the advanced steps of Google Ads management functions, and what I think is important and what I think is not important. So stay tuned for that. And before we get started, I want to remind you about optio.com/PSP. I say remind you because there's something very important I have to say this time around. Optio has come out with yet another new feature called a Google Ads scorecard. And this thing is really cool. I already love the way that they take data and put it in a very readable, understandable format. And now, for those of you that would like to see things in kind of a dashboard layout, just showing you where does my account stand? What am I doing wrong with my account? Where are areas where I excel and areas that I need improvement on? That is what they have created. They've created a scorecard system that allows you to be able to, at the touch of a button, see some basic information about your ads, your keywords, the way that your ad groups run, and the traffic that you're getting from, the alignment of your ad groups. There's a campaign breakdown, there's search term and ad copy comparison. I mean, there's all this. It's very in-depth, but still very understandable. This is especially useful for those of you that are using Google Ads for other companies. You're managing campaigns for other companies. You're an agency, you're a freelancer, you're managing accounts, and you want to maybe share a in-depth one-time report as an audit for someone or something like that. Great auditing tool. You can try this new tool and be sure, and when you sign up at optio.com/PSP, to tell them, hey, I heard about your new scorecard system on the Paid Search Podcast. Can I get that added to my trial? And they'll do it. I've personally been told that that is the case. They will give you access to this special beta feature. So be sure and ask for it. And when you sign up, because you sign up at that link and you tell them that you heard about it here on the Paid Search Podcast, you will get 2 months for free instead of 1 month. So you'll get 60 days, 8 weeks, double the time for your free trial of a full tool. They don't limit your tool at all. It's just a limitation on the time. So, wonderful opportunity. Be sure and try that. You will definitely like it. Okay, let's continue on. And if you're new to the podcast, I am still doing things I've always done. This, you don't need to worry that, oh man, now Chris has changed the way that things work on the podcast. That's not the case. I'm still doing the podcast the same way I've always done it. If you listen for years or you're brand new, this is just a brief summertime, shorter version of the podcast. I'll be back to my normal publishing schedule with full podcast content in a couple weeks. Okay, so we are moving on now to the last section of Google Ads getting started, the advanced steps. So to very briefly cover what I went through, episode 1 was 420. That was episode number 420. That's where I went through some of the basics of how to start a Google Ads campaign. Then episode 421, I talked about how to analyze, how to optimize, how to read your information in Google Ads, how to react to that information, what to do, what not to do. And then this episode, I'm getting into advanced steps. And if you remember, if you listened to my last episode, I ended with conversion tracking. I talked about conversion tracking, and I talked about how that's a key step in the final section of Google Ads. And that is immediately what we're going to start with in this section, is conversion tracking and the impact of a conversion tracking and what it will lead you to, and the mistakes that you can make because of conversion tracking. So let's get something straight right off the top. There is no such thing. This is number one. Number one, starting in, there is no such thing as a standard conversion rate. If you have a 0.5% conversion rate, do not let someone mock or downplay the success of your campaign simply because of your conversion rate. Don't be intimidated by agencies, YouTube channels that talk about 15%, 25%, 30%, 50% conversion rates. It is an arbitrary number that is entirely subjective to that account. If I wanted, I could make every one of my clients that I manage 75% conversion rate, 99% conversion rate, 100% conversion rate. I could artificially engineer that. To think that conversion rate is a measurement of success is a mistake. Do not assume that your conversion rate is too high, too low. Don't ask the question. People say, is there any dumb questions in Google Ads? Well, I think there is. And I think one dumb question is, what conversion rate should I have? Of course, I always give answers, even if they are dumb questions, but I want you to know that if you are concerned about your conversion rate not being as high as someone else's, or lower than you had expected, or something like that, you have the wrong measurement of success in mind. Your measurement of success is the return that you're getting from your Google Ads account. I can always inflate my conversion rate by just adding more conversion triggers. For my e-commerce listeners out there, I can just put add to cart. For my lead generation customers out there, I could just add time on site or number of clicks, right? These arbitrary, insignificant metrics can be converted into conversion rates. And then I could have a astoundingly high conversion rate and brag on my YouTube channel about how great my conversion rate is, and show all the guys at the next convention what my conversion rate for my Google Ads accounts are. And I'll slowly kill all of my clients through absolute wasted campaign, wasted CPCs, wasted clicks. I'll slowly lose my business because I'm focused on the wrong thing. So do not treat conversions as the single entity of success. I'm going to be repeating this a few more times because this is the core message. If you think that advanced steps of Google Ads is to just get as many conversions as possible and get the highest conversion rate, you're in for a shock by the time you get to the end of this episode. So let's move on. Number 2. Never make decisions from conversions that negate phase one of Google Ads. Phase one, if you're not familiar with my phasing theory in Google Ads, you can go back and listen to episode 385's beginning of a series that I created. Episode 385, you can listen to those. If you don't find it on YouTube, check on Spotify or the podcast. There's a few episodes that are missing, but episode 385 is where that begins. So phase one is the foundation of a successful Google Ads campaign. That's just getting the right traffic and spending the budget on the right traffic. The number 2 point here is you don't ever want to take your conversion metrics and make changes to your Google Ads account that compromises the quality of your traffic. And I have several examples to share. So point number 3 is an example of point number 2. So number 3, if you were to add a page view conversion. For example, I have clients that will want me to set up a conversion action for people that land on their contact us page. Maybe they do, maybe they're a dog groomer and they have a lot of people that come to their store. Maybe they sell mobile phone cases and they have a facility, and it's important that people find them, and they know it's important when they land on the, when they land on the how to find us, directions to our store kind of page. Having that as a conversion would potentially negate phase one of Google Ads, because there is no concrete value to someone just landing on a page and you tracking that as a conversion. Another example, adding something to cart has no tangible value to a Google Ads account. It's just someone adding to cart. You've made no money there. Do not set these up as conversions, because it will lead you down a road of making optimization changes based on a zero value acquisition. Purchasing, that's worth something, right? Someone who purchases on your site, that's a tangible acquisition. But page view, add to cart, viewing a certain page, landing on a certain page, or being on your site a certain amount, clicking a certain number of times, if you set this up, it will lead you down a path of optimization based on conversions that have no value. So, again, you may be shocked to learn that advanced steps of Google Ads does not negate the basics. You don't just stop analyzing search terms. You don't stop analyzing what people are clicking on. You must factor those in. You must pay attention to those. Okay, so next we have number 4, competitor keywords that generate calls. All right. This is another example of making decisions that negate phase one. Competitor keywords that generate calls. I have a lot of people that will say, hey, when someone searches ABC company, some certain competitor nearby, I want to show up for them. And maybe there's even history in the account that shows a large number of phone calls from those competitor keywords. They're searching for your competitors. They end up calling you instead. This is an example of making a decision based on conversions that negates phase one. You're paying money for people looking for your competitors. The end of the road looks like this. You've got great conversion metrics. You might have a lot of conversions, but you've got poor quality leads. So you've sacrificed your campaign to look shiny, but on the inside, it's rotting and it's dying. Because the quality of these leads are a bunch of hang-ups, they're a bunch of wrong numbers, a bunch of people who are not interested in talking to you, don't realize that they're calling the wrong company, and in the end end up hanging up, and even after talking to a salesperson perhaps, hanging up and then finding the proper company they want to talk to. So essentially you're just paying for an opportunity to pitch your services as a second option. It's not the way to do it. So that's an example of making a decision based on conversions that negate phase one, that negate the quality of the traffic. Number 5, using certain campaign types that sacrifice data for glowing metrics. Best example I can give, although there are others, is Performance Max. Falling under the assumption that a Performance Max campaign, because it can deliver a ton of conversions, may be negating phase one, negating quality of traffic, negating the core value of Google Ads simply for shiny, glowing metrics on your screen. Lots of conversions. So it's important not to be deterred by conversion rates, cost per conversion that just show on the screen. You need to have some kind of basis for knowing that this is actually happening. This is actually moving your bottom line. There are smart campaigns out there. There are Performance Max campaigns that will generate phone calls, that will get you cheap clicks. It will get you a ton of clicks. But in the end, it may not get you what you want. Okay, so those are 3 examples about making decisions from conversions, making decisions based on things that you see on the screen that end up giving you a lot of shiny, amazing looking numbers in your reports. But in the end, you lose the quality of your traffic. You lose the integrity of your campaign. All right, so we're on number 6. Number 6 is this. Understand that conversion-based bidding sacrifices control for an algorithm. You must understand that conversion-based bidding sacrifices control for algorithms. Let me break that down, what that means. When you turn on target CPA or max conversions, because that's what the recommendation system points you towards. That's what the recommendations are popping up all over your screen. That's what the big recommendation button says. Whenever you're looking at the settings, says this is the best option for you. You must understand that you're giving up something here. Okay? And I'll explain exactly what you're giving up. In my first episode of this, I discussed using max clicks. Okay, max clicks, you at least have an ability to set a ceiling on your cost per click. You can tell Google, don't spend more than $5 per click, $25 per click, $50 per click. You can pick what your max cost per click bid is. When you use these conversion-based bidding strategies, for pretty much everyone, there's some small exceptions, but for pretty much everyone, you no longer have a CPC bid limit. You are giving Google 100% control on your bidding. So if it's important that you show up on weekends, that you show up during the lunch hour, that you show up during business hours for specific keywords, for specific searches on specific devices, those options are gone. You have sacrificed control for an algorithm. It has pushed your hands off of the controls. The controls are gone. What used to be a dashboard full of buttons and levers that you can adjust to try and get exactly what you want out of your traffic, that is now gone. All of those have been decommissioned. They're turned off. The buttons will still be there, but they won't do anything. Sometimes the buttons are completely gone. But understand that those buttons have been turned off. They don't work. And you cannot choose where you're showing up and how much you're paying for where you're showing up. The algorithm's going to decide this search is worth $113. That might be a great search, or it might not be. And you have sacrificed control because you've given up your conversion-based bidding. Well, you've given up your max conversion, your manual bid, whatever you're using for conversion-based bidding, which does not have the finite control that you might want. Okay, so that's number 6. I'm going to get off of the whole conversion discussion. I'm going to get into bigger picture kind of stuff from here on. Okay. Number 7 is this. When you're experiencing success, don't micromanage your account. I might even go so far as to say, don't manage your account. Because some of you, your only default management is micromanagement. Okay? If you're having a successful time, if things are moving, if you've had 2 months of forward moving metrics, you got more conversions, more success 2 months ago, and then even more success 1 month ago, and now you're on the 3rd month and you're trying to keep that ball rolling, the answer is rarely you need your hands in the middle of it. That's rarely a good idea. So believe it or not, number 7 of my advanced steps discussion is don't do too much to your account if you're experiencing success. And furthermore, for those of you that are experiencing mediocre, steady metrics, you've had, it's been going well for 6 months, 8 months. Don't assume that sweeping overhauls always result in positive movement of an account. Especially, as I'll discuss in point number 9, especially if you're using a lot of uncontrolled factors in your Google Ads account. Many things in Google Ads are hidden now. I could do a whole episode about the things that were once a part of Google Ads and are now gone. Metrics that are gone, things you can't see. I'll give you one example. You may not have ever thought about this because it's not something you think about, but as of several years ago, you can no longer see where the person was that came from Google Ads. And you say, well, Chris, that's not true. I have my location report and I can see matched location. That is correct. That is no longer the way to actually see the data you want. There used to be another section in Google Ads that was user location. So matched location is based on what Google matched to the location. So it could be someone from across the world that searched US-based insurance company and it matched for somewhere in the US, but the user location was in the United Kingdom. Okay? So this is one metric, one data point that has been wiped from Google Ads. It's gone. So that's just one. I could list a lot. That's just one. So I say that to say this. When you think that you can micromanage an account, when you think you have enough data to make pinpoint decisions about things, think again. There's a lot of information you do not have. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that is gone or is behind an algorithm or is just straight up hidden. Okay, so that's number 7. Don't micromanage. Now, talking to the other crowd, the crowd that's pulled almost all your hair out because you're experiencing failure. I'll tell you, I'm most of the people I hear from for my coaching, for my management services, are experiencing failure. So I assume a lot of people listening to this podcast are going to fit into point number 8. Point number 8, experiencing failure. Speaking to those people, rarely do I find that starting over, clean, just deleting everything and starting over is the right decision. Specifically for those who have experienced success. If you've had success in the campaign at some point and now it's not doing as well, it's probably not a good idea to just start over. So failure and success is an up and down thing in Google Ads. And many times it will have nothing to do with you. Some accounts can just stop performing well. And again, number 9 will lead more into why some things like that might happen. I'll get to that in a minute. But sometimes failure can be an outside force. It's on the Google Ads algorithm side. It's something to do with competitors, something shifting in the market. The price point of a competitor has changed. A competitor's come into the market and upset your positions because they have a better offering, a better website, a better service for more or less price. It doesn't really matter, but things have changed and that causes your account to change. So oftentimes I find that starting over is not a great idea. It sometimes is an option, sometimes a better thing to do when perhaps if you've never experienced success at all in the account. But don't assume that a fresh start is always the best option. So that's number 8. Number 9, I've talked about several times, and I'm going to tell you in just a moment. First, I want to remind you, optio.com/PSP to try their new scorecard report. It is a great solution for agencies or individuals that just want to know kind of where you stand. Get an easy upfront answer about with numerical scoring to give you an idea. How well are your keywords matching to your search terms? How well is your ad copy matching to your search terms and your keywords? All the different things in your Google Ads account. It can provide a numerical equation to kind of give you good, bad, and ugly about your account. Optio.com, that's opteo.com/PSP. Tell them you heard it from Chris on the Paid Search Podcast, and they'll give you 2 months for free. All right, so number 9. This one is important because it can lead to many factors that I talked about in the previous 8 points that I covered. Okay, so number 9 is using every Google suggested feature leads to the least amount of control. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. I'm going to say it again. Using every single Google suggested feature, every little shiny button that pops up, every suggestion, every feature, every optimization score bump that you can get out of the account, by doing more and more of that, it will lead to the least amount of control in your account. I mean, using the quote-unquote recommended contextual match type, right? The most saturating, most far-reaching, most powerful match type, known as broad match. Using broad match leads to the least amount of control. Using automated bid strategies, particularly maximize conversions, target CPA, maximize conversion value, target ROAS. Using those, broad match, automated bidding, and even responsive search ads. You pile all of these things on, and let me paint a picture for you. Let me paint a word picture for you for what it looks like from one person that uses every single Google suggested feature and a person who doesn't use any Google suggested feature. Now, both of these companies, I should say, could be equally successful. Okay? Both of them can be doing very well. But here's the defining difference. Company A is using all of the Google suggested features, broad, automated, responsive search ads. They're not pinning any of their ads. They're using very wide, broad-reaching, high-spend campaigns. Okay? They could be doing great, be producing some great stuff. Maybe they're spending a whole lot more, but they're getting more out of it. Great. Maybe that's where you want to be. The other company is not using broad. They're not using automated. They're using manual bids, and they're pinning all of their ads. The one thing that the company B, the second company, can brag about that the other company can't is that company B, the second one, can guarantee that their ads will show up when this is searched and their ads will look like this. Right? If they do a search for a certain keyword at this time of day, they are certain their ad's going to show first position, maybe second position, at least above organic. It's going to be in the top of Google Ads for sure. And the ad is going to look like exactly as they wrote it. Full predictability. They know who they want to advertise to, and they can guarantee their ad will be there 70% of the time, 80% of the time, maybe 95% of the time. It'll be there. That is the difference between company A, who uses all of Google's suggestions, and company B, who ignores those, goes for what they know they want, and gets there and shows up for it. Okay? So company A has no control. Maybe they're doing great. Maybe they're failing. I don't know. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about control. Maybe control is important for you. Maybe it's not. But it's important to know that when you're running at an advanced level, control is the only thing that allows you to test and report and repeat that process. If you have no control on your account and you change a couple of keywords, you're using all automated bids and broad match, it's throwing a match onto a bonfire. Who knows if that made any difference? It's immeasurable. There's no way you can tell. But if I have control and I change my ad copy and I change my bids and I change this and that, I can analyze what effect that had and what the results were. That's the difference between company A and company B. They could both be successful, but only one has control of their spend. All right. So number 10, wrapping it up, I'll tell you this. This is probably the number one thing that I hear from clients of mine in consulting sessions that I do. Don't copy your competition. Don't try and be what everyone else is doing. Don't assume that the other company has it figured out and then you should just copy their keywords. One example. I had a client email me a screenshot. They had done some searching and they said, "Hey, I just saw our advertiser on this obscure search. I don't see why they're doing it, but it must be valuable because they're very successful. Let's go there too. Build me a campaign for this search. Let's put, a couple thousand towards it and, we'll go after it." That is a horrible idea because there's one assumption that you've made that is 100% incorrect. You assume because you see a competitor on a term that they meant to be there. I can tell you after looking at thousands and thousands of Google Ads accounts over these years, nobody fully intends to show up everywhere their ad is shown. Nobody. Do not assume that your competition is doing it a certain way because they intended to do it that way. There is no account that has 100% control over every instance of where their ad's showing, how it shows, when it shows, and the keyword that it responds to and all that. No. So don't assume that your competition has it figured out. Don't assume that you can just use a keyword spy tool out there to copy their keywords and spend the same amount, run on their same keywords, and get whatever results you think they're getting. Stay in your own lane. Manage the account based on what's valuable to you. Your business is not their business. If you're literally doing the same thing as them and you have an indistinguishable difference between your company and their company, if you're that much of a copycat, then then you really shouldn't have a place on Google Ads, because the whole point of Google Ads is to have an auction and convince people that you're the better option. If you're copying everything, how are you any different? It's just going to go to either you or the other guy. You look exactly the same. There's not a whole lot of value in copying someone because you don't know that they're doing it the right way. You don't know that they're doing it on purpose. You don't know if they're successful. And you want to copy them? I don't advise it. Stay in your own lane, focus on what works for you and what's important to your company, and you'll be much more successful that way. So that is it. Next week, you're going to have a treat. You're going to have Joey Bidner doing a full episode. I will not be present. He always has some great stuff to share. He's really excited to do a full episode, so you guys be sure and give him the appreciation and stay subscribed. And it's going to be a fun first time for the Paid Search Podcast to have a full guest speaker. So look forward to that. If you'd like to reach out to me, chrisschaefer.com. If you want to send in a question for the podcast, you can do that at paidsearchpodcast.com. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in 2 weeks. Have a great one.